What do Dungeons and Dragons and a shovel have in common? Well, I don't know, maybe something. There's shovels in Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm sure you could make a whole bunch of analogies how they are related. But what I'm talking about now is Shovel Knight, one of the best indie games of all time, and if not one of the best video games of all time, and if not, fight me, internet, because it's amazing. The folks at Yacht Club Games are no stranger to introducing the titular character of Shovel Knight into a variety of different games as cameos, whether it be something simple or as a flat-out playable character in certain games. And funnily enough, back in April 1st, April Fool's Day of this year, they released a Shovel Knight class. It was on the DMs Guild, I think, and then it seems like it was pulled. And it does exist, though. I did find it. I'll put a link to it in the description. But yeah, if you want to see what's going on with that, stay tuned. Steel Dice Shovel Adventurers, because we are about to strike the earth. What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here. And yeah, I guess in the midst of all the coronavirus stuff, I just didn't see that this came out. Also, I'm trying a slightly different lighting setup. I basically took my camera onto full manual mode and tried adjusting some things to try to make myself stand out a little bit more from the background. Let me know what you think. It's easy enough to rectify if you like the last couple of videos better. We'll see. Anyway, so the folks at Yacht Club Games released this themselves. So there's a website here, if I go and look at it, where it says Shovel Knight IRL Physical Game Cameo Extravaganza. So I don't know how many of these were just like actual jokes because it was on April Fool's Day. So they had all these different apples to apples cards. They were like, oh, you can make a Shovel Knight instead of a knight on like a chessboard, and there's like a Spectre Knight, and they're giving you new pieces to replace other things, other knights and rooks. Here's a Shovel Knight and a Shovel Blade to insert into your own game of Clue. What else do we have? And then here's Dungeons and Dragons. Right? This is what we're here for. So originally, I saw this on their Twitter account, and it was something like, it was on the DMs Guild, and it was called like Shovels and Shields or something. And I went to try and find it, and that product doesn't exist. Like if you go to search it, it just says like this product does not exist. But it is a full level 1 to 20 class with 4 subclasses, and you can click this link right here, and it takes you right to it. Shovel Knight, Shovels and Shields, a Knight class guide on spade-wielding hero in blue and company. So, you can see it again, it is from Yacht Club Games. And it's basically, yeah, it's going to give you all the interesting flavor text that a 5th edition character sheet would typically give you. And then it's going to go right into a class block here. So if we go ahead and look through this, we can see that you have no spells, but you have Ichor and Relics, and we'll talk about those when we get to them. Standard ability score improvements per every other class, right? No extra ones added in. And they start with a D10 hit die, light armor, medium armor, shields, no weapon proficiencies, and we'll see why. Blacksmith's tools and a gaming set, strength and dexterity saving throws, and you only choose one from athletics, acrobatics, investigation, nature, and survival. Now, again, you do get your subclass features at level 1, so that will make a little bit more sense. You're also going to get a martial weapon, simple weapon, or a buckler, a leather armor or chainmail, and Dungeoneer's pack. So we're going to go through basically all of the base class features, and then we're going to jump into the subclass features, and then the magic item, relics, and things later on. So, Ichor Bottle, right? That is one of the first things you're going to get. You receive an Ichor Bottle with 2 Ichor points, which increases in quantity as listed in the Knight table. You'll saw that was one of the things up on the right-hand side. When you spend an Ichor point, it is unavailable until you finish a short or long rest. You must spend at least 1 hour of the rest replenishing your Ichor Bottle in order to regain your Ichor points. Some of your abilities will require your target to make a saving throw to resist effects. Your Ichor saving throw is targeted off of your Wisdom modifier. Something else I also really like is just the cleanliness of that, having the Ichor Bottle up front so you can just use Ichor point saving throws. Also, at 2nd level, you get Relic Keeper. You gain favor of a shop owner, patron, or powerful being known as a Benefactor. While your Benefactor can be wildly different to fit your knight's story, we've assembled a few, and you'll see. They'll be, if you're familiar with the game, you'll know some of them. As you gain levels, you can borrow relics equal to the relic column of the knight's table from this Benefactor. Upon reaching subsequent levels or completing a long rest, you may change out any or all of your relics for new ones on the condition that you have the points to account for all relics in your possession. I mean, you can't have relics that equal more relic points than you have. You may only use one relic per round, but you receive the benefit of multiple relics at once unless otherwise noted. Right, items of Ichor. Unlike typical magic items, relics are ancient devices that must be powered by Ichor and cannot be used by those without a bottle of Ichor. If you lose your bottle, you must spend 24 hours crafting a new one. Finding an appropriate smith or alchemist may reduce the time needed. While relics may be powered by Ichor, so are your weapons of devotion. Some of your weapons may also require Ichor to reach their full potential in combat. And a little sidebar here for weapons of devotion. In future sections of this class, the term may be used weapons of devotion, and we'll always refer to the main weapon of the chosen class. For example, the Code of Shovelry's weapon of devotion is the shovel blade. Knights who lose their weapons of devotion have grown accustomed to improvising new weapons and may spend 8 hours with blacksmithing tools in order to recraft a basic version of their weapon of devotion. For example, a longsword being crafted into a shovel blade. All right, 5, you get Hopeful Soul. On your turn, you can use your bonus action to regain hit points equal to a D8 plus your night level. So kind of like a lesser version of Second Wind. Once per short or long rest. 7 rather, you get Campfire Craftsman, which again fits if you know the game. Whenever you're taking a short rest, you can attempt to create a comforting campfire. On a success, you and your allies heal an additional amount equal to 1d6 plus your relic score and hit points. Attempting this during a long rest grants temporary hit points equal to a d4 plus your relic score. At 9th level, you are immune to the frightened condition, regardless of its source. That's not too bad. Paladins get it at 10, but they can give it to other people. 14, you get Treasure Tracker. Your Benefactor grants you a relic to reward you for your continued efforts, the Ring of Treasure Sight. The shimmering ring grants advantage on checks related to finding hidden treasure and incurs disadvantage on mimics attempting to hide in plain sight. Also, once per day, you may cast the Identify spell without expending a spell slot. And lastly, at level 20, your base movement speed doubles, your dexterity score increases by 4, and the maximum score for this is now 24. And you know what? I'm okay with that. That's a capstone worthy of being a capstone, in my opinion. All right, then we have our benefactors, right? So again, all of these ones you'll recognize from the game. The Bard, right? So this Wandering Minstrel found your company. Again, with The Witcher and everything being popular, also a Bard kind of makes sense. So it's going to give you a bonus proficiency. Choose one from Acrobatics, Performance. Choose one Acrobatics, Performance, one musical instrument of your choice. I think it's saying they each provide one skill, tool, or language. You get to pick. So Mom, some adventurers never stray too far from home. Persuasion, Medicine, Insight, or one artisan's tool proficiency of your choosing. The Truple King, Acrobatics, Athletics, or Aquan as a language. The Enchantress, Acrobatics, Survival, or Arcana. Or Chester, Acrobatics, Survival, Thieves' Tools, or Jeweler's Tools. Then we get into the Codes of Honor. This is the meat and potatoes of everything. You saw the whole base class we just discussed and the benefactors. Here is where you actually dive into what you actually get and where you'll be able to deviate from a different kind of knight to have that really uniqueness. So first up is the Code of Shovelry. So first up is, again, Code of Shovelry. So that gets you the Chevalier, I think is how it's pronounced, ability at level 1. If you spend 8 hours with blacksmith's tools, you can reshape a longsword into a shovel blade. With magical longsword taking twice as long or more. The shovel blade has the stats of a longsword, but also gets the finesse property. Remember, so far, nothing has really stated we need to have strength to be a shovel knight. The way things are working out, or these classes kind of can't lean more towards dexterity. You also gain the Fishfellow's Scale for free when you choose this code. That's one of the items. We'll talk about that. It does not count towards your relic total. At 3, you get Uprooting Strike. You may spend 1 Ichor to attempt to bury your shovel underneath a foe within 5 feet and flip them. Your target makes a strength saving throw equal to your Ichor DC. On a failed save, they're knocked prone for your turn's duration. On a success, you have disadvantage against the target on your next attack this round. At 3rd level, you also get Shovel Drop. Make a 2-handed attack against a creature within 10 feet of you as you drop down onto it with your shovel. On a success, roll for damage as normal. You may make another attack against the same target or an adjacent target within 10 feet up to 3 times. On a hit, you deal a d8 plus dex piercing damage. You may choose to perform up to 2 additional shovel bounces. On each successive drop, you deal 1 tier lower, a d6 and then a d4, without the dexterity modifier. If you miss, you may spend 1 ichor to heighten your senses and avoid falling prone as you land within 5 feet of your target and lose your next bonus action. While traveling by shovel drop, you ignore difficult terrain. When you end this ability voluntarily, choose a space within 10 feet of your target to land. Beginning at 8th level, the amount of times you can drop increases by 1, and the damage die starts at a d10 instead of a d8. So what this is referencing is in the game, you can kind of drop down, shovel point down. You can continue to bounce on top of someone, and like you can use it to ding, 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 go through the game. And obviously that would be broken to just be able to do that infinitely in D&D, so they gave a mechanic where it has losses if you screw up, and the damage decreases over time. At 6th level, the Shovel Blade gains a +2 bonus to attack rolls, and at 12th level, a +4, not to damage, just to attack. And then at 11, you get Returned in Spades. You can use your reaction to block a missile when you're hit by a ranged attack. When you do so, your damage you take is reduced by a d8 plus your dex mod plus your night level. So this is basically deflect missiles from a monk. If you reduce the damage to 0 and is small enough to be held in one hand, you can reflect the missile by striking it with your Shovel Blade. You may then spend 1 ichor point to make a ranged attack with the weapon or a piece of ammunition that you just deflected as part of the same reaction. You make this attack with proficiency, regardless of your weapon proficiencies, and the missile does a d6 plus dex with a normal range of 20 and a long range of 60. So this is, I'm just going to check how ichor points work. Are they basically, no, they're like key points. They scale as key points do. So that kind of makes sense. Then at 15, you get Dungeon Destroyer. You get a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls while using your shovel, and each of your shovel drops deal an additional d6 force damage. In addition, you can use your shovel blade to burrow through natural rock at half your speed. And lastly, you get Earth-Shattering Strike. As an action, choose a location within 15 feet to leap to. Each creature in a 15-foot radius sphere centered on each point you choose must make a dexterity saving throw. The sphere spreads around corners. A creature takes 10d10 force damage on a failed save or half on a success. On a failure, the creature is also knocked prone. The ground becomes difficult terrain or is destroyed as a result of the strike. So first up, I'll admit this does seem a little on the powerful side. Right now, as it stands, by making it to 15th level in this class, your weapon, regardless of it being magic to start, has a +5 to hit, a +1 to damage, and can do a total of 4 attacks. But it is... let's see. It is an action, I should point that out. You don't ever get extra attack. You only get shovel drop. So that is your action to do so. Something to consider. So it's not as overpowered as I thought. It's shovel drop is your only means of multiple attacking. If you miss, you fall prone unless you spend ichor points. And your damage gets successively worse and never as your dexterity modifier beyond the first attack. So that's something, right? So it's not as unbalanced as I was thinking in my head. Returned in Spades, I'm fine with. You're going to get this at 11th level, which is basically what monks have at 3rd level. Making a shovel is fine. Uprooting Strike is basically like a trip attack, basically from a Battlemaster fighter, but they have to, it's kind of your whole thing. And if you fail, then it provides you negative side effects. And then Earth-Shattering Strike's a pretty big move that you can do. And unfortunately, from when I read it, it doesn't look like there's a limit to how often you can do it. So that might be... Oh, no, it says... Oh, see, this is why. It says once per day at the start. You should put this, if you want to follow 5th edition logic, you should include that at the end. So Earth-Shattering Strike's only once per day. So actually, I don't think it's nearly as bad as I thought it was. Actually, it's not too bad at all. All right, Code of Aegis. This is going to be your Shield Knight subclass. Shield Expertise at level 1, you are proficient in wielding 2 bucklers or a shield with a 2-handed property. While holding a shield/buckler in your main hand, you gain the following benefits. Your shield is considered a finesse weapon that you have proficiency in. You can roll a d4 in place of the normal damage of an unarmed strike. The dice changes as you gain night level shown on the shield bash table. So you can see it starts at a d4, goes up to a d6 at level 6, a d8 at level 15, and a d10 at level 17. So similar in a way to a monk's unarmed strike, but but progresses slower. Shield Striker. When you make an attack against an opponent with your shield, you may spend 1 ichor point to have them make a dexterity saving throw. On a failure, you can choose one of the following options. The target is knocked back 10 feet. The target is knocked to the left and right of their original position 5 feet. So similar to like an open hand monk in that respect. You can wield 2 bucklers, it says. Bucklers don't exist. They may be a magic item later on, but they don't exist in 5th edition. In your main hand, yeah, it doesn't say you can wield them when in your offhand, like Shield Knight does. She has 2, but Aegis Marksman at 3rd level. You can throw your shield, make a ranged attack with your shield within 30 feet. On a successful hit, deal a d6 bludgeoning damage. For the duration of its flight, you lose any AC bonus granted by the shield. At the end of your turn, the shield returns to your hand. That's not super important, but if there is someone with a reaction, that might come into play. Also, you get Rising Star at 3rd level. As a bonus action, you can position your shield above your head for allies to step on. Allies may spend part of their movement to reach your shield, counting your space as difficult terrain. Allies who use your shield as a platform gain an extra d6 attack damage or attack bonus, and add half your dexterity modifier rounded down to their damage bonus on attacks made until they touch the ground. Your shield loses half of its AC score rounded down while you hold this position. Starting the next round, you may lower your shield again as a free action. So basically, this is again a Shield Knight move. You put your shield above your head, someone's going to jump off of it to deal damage. Obviously, the legendary combo would be Shield and Shovel Knight. You do that, Shovel Knight jumps off of it, does the shovel bounce, and then you go from there. Answer the Call at 6th level. Never fight alone. When spending movement to reach a friendly creature, you do so without provoking attacks of opportunity. At 11th level, allies in a 10-foot radius receive advantage on checks against spells or abilities that cause the frightened condition. Indirect Route. You can now throw your shield towards an opponent of your choosing within 30 feet and hold it there until the beginning of your next turn. No concentration needed. Allies may use your shield as a platform to incur the benefits received by Rising Star. You lose, so you can basically throw your shield and it kind of like hovers out there before it comes back so people could jump off of it. At 15, you get the Defender. When wielding a shield, enemies in a 10-foot radius of you and an ally of your choosing incur disadvantage on 1 attack per round. And at 17th level, you've grown fully proficient with your shield, granting you double proficiency bonus on attacks or saves that involve your shield. You may also ignore AC penalties incurred from Rising Star and Aegis Marksman. So double your proficiency bonus on attack rolls using your shield. Okay, so that's not, it's a very good chance that you're going to attack. Your damage is never going to get super crazy, and you don't have any means inborn in the class itself to do a ton of damage. And then the only thing is, again, if you're wielding 2 bucklers, what does that mean? We don't know at the moment. And then is Code of Torment, which is your Spectre Knight. Grave Weapon, let's see, you forge a Scythe at level 1. You're proficient with size. The Scythe has stats of a regular Scythe as well as the Finesse property. By spending 8 hours, you can make a new one. Ichor Empowered, you may spend an amount of Ichor to add a bonus to your attack rolls, a number of d6 slashing damage to your rolls per each Ichor point spent. Must be declared before you make the attack roll, so you have to do that before if you hit, so you might waste it. Poisoned Mind, you've been corrupted. When with this, you gain resistance to poison from all sources. However, in order to heal from potions or safely consume food or drink, you must spend 1 minute corrupting them. Restoration spells such as Cure Wounds still have a healing effect on you. Dash Slash, as an action, choose a target within 15 feet and draw a line centered from you that extends 5 feet past the target. You fly past and through them to that location, making a melee attack against the target during your travel. You may expend half your movement to adjust your landing an additional 5 feet. This ability cannot be used for making nor provoking attacks of opportunity. You may use this ability while airborne or falling. This, again, if you've ever played the Spectre Knight pack in Shovel Knight, that makes sense. Undying Soul. On death, instead of dying outright, you drop your trinket. If an allied creature picks up the trinket and completes a long rest within 24 hours, you are revived. If your trinket is destroyed, you are permanently destroyed. A willing creature can don the trinket and hear your voice. If you lose the trinket within 72 hours, you will begin to decay and be permanently destroyed. Okay. Upheaving Swing. When taking an attack action against an opposing creature, you may spend 1 Ichor to cause the target to make a strength saving throw based on your Ichor DC. If they fail, choose one of the following. The target creature is launched 5 feet into the air until the start of their turn, during which they land on their feet as normal. While in the air, attacks made against them are done with advantage and cause a creature to fall prone on a success. You kind of just knock up, basically. You can spend an additional 1 Ichor to perform an extra attack using Dash Slash. So this is the first time we've seen basically 2 attacks outside of Shovel Drop. Expert movement at level 11. Let's see. You climb faster than normal. Climbing no longer costs you additional movement. You have resistance to falling damage. 15, you get between planes. After a long rest, choose one damage type from the following list. You have resistance to it for 8 hours. Fire, lightning, acid, or cold. And then at 17, you have the Reaper. On your turn, you may spend your movement to throw your scythe in a direction of your choice within 120 feet and line of sight. As part of this action, you may choose to teleport to your scythe and perform a melee attack. If you lose your scythe, you may use a bonus action to return it to your hand, so long as it's on the same plane of existence as you. So Spectre Knight, I feel like Shield Knight and Shovel Knight were pretty straightforward. Spectre Knight's a little funky, but so is the gameplay for it, so I guess that kind of makes some sense. Basically, you have the dash slash to like slide through people. And then we have Code of the Adventurer, which is just like basically somebody new. With honed skill, you're able to bring out the best of your weapon. With a small arsenal, keep your options open. This is not, as far as I can tell, tied to any specific knight from the series. So, at level 1, you get Weapon Devotion. You have studied an ancient art devoted to the weapon of your code. Decide what this weapon is. You are now proficient with it. Choose which type of damage it deals from the following list: slashing, piercing, bludgeoning. The weapon's properties are determined by one of the following. If it's melee, it does a D8 and has finesse. If it's ranged, it does a D6, has ammunition, the loading property, and a range of 30, 100. It also says right here you get a bonus relic at level 1. Speedrunner. Let's see. At third level, your base movement speed increases by 10 feet. Also in jumping, you may use your dexterity modifier instead of strength. And honing your craft, also at level 3. Your weapon of devotion gains the following properties based on its chosen type. The ranged weapon gets a +1 to attack rolls made with this weapon. Melee weapon gets a +1 to attack and damage rolls. And you may choose one of the following additional properties for your weapon of devotion. The melee one can either be versatile, doing a D10 when wielded two-handed, light, reach, thrown, a range of 20, 60, or the ranged one can either be light, remove the loading property, damage increases to a D8, remove the ammunition property, or increase the range by 10 feet. Level 6, you get Treasure Hunter. You begin to collect rare relics. You gain one of the following relics from the relic list for free: the Eye of True Sight, the Grapple Anchor, or the Bomb Bag. Alternatively, you may gain a second copy of your weapon of devotion weapon, since you want to wield like 2 weapons. At 6, you also get Crafty Combatant. When you use your action to use a relic, you may use a second relic so long as it uses a bonus action. Multi-attack at level 11. Rapid Fire, you can use your action and spend 1 Ichor to make a ranged attack against a number of creatures equal to your wisdom modifier within 10 feet of a point you can see. You must have ammunition for each target as normal and make a separate attack roll for each target. Spinning Strike, you can use your action and spend 2 Ichor to make a melee attack against any number of creatures within 5 feet of you, with a separate attack roll for each target. On a hit, the target takes an additional D6 force damage as you strike is empowered by the mystical force of Ichor. Or Vigorous Stance, you may spend an Ichor and use your reaction to an incoming attack. Use your reaction to an incoming attack, I guess, to increase your AC by 3 for the remainder of the round. You must complete a short rest before using this ability again. If you only get to choose one, whether you do Rapid Fire, Spinning Strike, or boost your AC. I think Spinning Strike's the clear winner, in my opinion. At 15, you also get Ichor Invigorated. As a bonus action, you may spend 3 Ichor on your next attack within the next 10 minutes, add a +5 to your attack roll, and add an extra 3d6 force damage. It's just on the next attack, though, so it doesn't, like, I guess it's 10 minutes that you can wait and use it ahead of time. And then at level 17, Weapon Master, gain another relic from the Treasure Hunter list, and you may add an additional property to your weapon of devotion from the previous lists. Also here it says example devoted weapons. Bug Knight, use the Insect Launcher ranged weapon with an ammo type of Beetle Blades. At 9th level, choose the light property. Or Chainblade Knight, use the Chainblade melee weapon. At 9th level, choose the reach property. That'll basically be your spiked chain. All right, so that's the base knight features now. We're going to move into the Relics of Adventure. Once again, if you are familiar with Shovel Knight, these will all seem familiar to you. So, if a relic has prerequisites, it'll say Wisdom is your spellcasting. This is basically where your spells come from, essentially. Wisdom is your spellcasting modifier for relics. If a relic requires an action to be made, the attack bonus is calculated as follows: proficiency bonus plus wisdom modifier. You may only use one relic per round, but may receive the benefits of multiple relics at once unless otherwise noted. Like we saw that one said you can do a bonus action relic if you do an action relic. So first up is the alchemy coin for two relic points. Use your action to make a proficient ranged attack with it. Strike it and deal 1d6 bludgeoning damage. The coin flies back to you. I guess if you hit someone, it deals a d6 bludgeoning damage and flies back to you. It's kind of worded funky. You may spend Ichor to strike it back at your enemy. Successive damage from the alchemy coin deals one tier lower, a d4, a d2, a d1, and you may not add your dexterity bonus to any of these damage rolls. So you're just basically banging the coin against them, which is kind of how it works. Alchemist Armored Arms of Armoring. 2 relic points, 5th level requirement. These gauntlets coat your attacks with strange toxin. Your weapons of devotion deal an extra d4 acid damage on a successful hit. Bomb Burst Bottle. This bulbous bottle of brilliant blue brew allows you to take 4 force damage in exchange for advantage on a dexterity saving throw. You must choose to use the bottle before a roll is made, and you can only use it twice per day. Booming Bracers. You'll see there's these kind of bracers, these kind of things that are going to add damage to your weapon of devotion. These ones are going to deal thunder damage, a d4 thunder damage. We saw the acid ones before. Boots of Spring Loading. When using the Shovel Drop feature, your range increases from 10 to 15. Chronos Coin. As a bonus action, you may spend 7 Ichor to take a second turn this round. This effect cannot stack. That's not till 14th level, and that's half of your Ichor points to do it. Cloak of Shadows is 1 relic point. It requires the code of Torment, so that means you're going to be a Spectre Knight. And 7th level, this cloak is enchanted with the power of darkness. Choose an enemy whose shadow is within line of sight and no more than 40 feet away. Teleport to their shadow. You cannot teleport to or from difficult terrain, and the enemy must be casting a shadow. You appear directly on top of their shadow. If it is behind them, roll a stealth check to see if you gain stealth. The stealth bonus cannot be conferred after the time in combat that the enemy has seen it. Oh, the first time the enemy's seen it. Cloak of Slashing, also for Spectre Knight, 5 relic points. When using Upheaving Swing, following up with a dash attack no longer costs Ichor. That's cool. The Dread Talon, this is 8th level with 3 relic points. Expend your movement and action this turn as you focus all your energy into one incredible strike. Spend 3 Ichor and wait 1 turn, so you're losing a whole turn, to make an attack roll, including proficiency and either your strength or dexterity modifier with the Talon, and deal 60-10 force damage on a hit. Being hit with an attack during the charge up imposes disadvantage, and taking additional damage cancels the attack. You may spend 2 additional Ichor points to avoid occurring penalties from taking damage. So basically, you're doing a charge up attack. If someone hits you, you'll lose it. If you take damage, it's going to knock you out of it, so you can spend Ichor to keep it up to just do 1 big hit. Dust Knuckles, also again from Shovel Knight. You may spend 2 Ichor points to perform an attack against a target within 10 feet. They must make a strength saving throw or suffer disadvantage on their next melee attack against you. Not nearly as cool as flying through the dirt, but whatever. Electrified Ringlets, this is the same thing. Your weapon of devotion will deal a d4 lightning damage. Farsight of the Submariner, 1 relic point. While wearing these spectacles, your eyes cast light that aids you in areas of dim light or darkness. You can dark vision out to 60 feet or increase your current dark vision abilities by 60 feet. Again, it doesn't spectate or dictate what race you could be. You could be any race you want and still have these abilities. Here's the Fish Fellows scale. This is a thing that the Shovelry code gets for free. The ability to speak and understand Aquan. In addition, you can hold your breath for twice as long when submerged and can move up to your full movement speed when swimming as you feel oddly comfortable underwater. That's a little bit of a nod to if you've ever seen Shovel Knight with his helmet removed. That's a little nod to that. Flaming Fists of the Furnace. Again, same thing, adding a d4 to your weapon of a d4 fire damage to your weapon of devotion. The Flare Wand, also from Shovel Knight. Spend 1 Ichor point to make a ranged weapon attack against a target. On a hit, they take a d8 fire damage plus your wisdom mod. The next attack this target makes within 10 minutes is made. Your next attack against this target, rather, is made with advantage. The Fishing Rod. You are proficient with fishing tools while in possession of this relic. As a reaction, when an allied creature within 15 feet is hit with a melee attack, you may spend 1 Ichor and grant them the benefits of the dodge action, imposing disadvantage on the attack roll. You may spend an additional Ichor to increase this range to 25 feet. You may only use this ability once per round. I like that the Fishing Rod has actual uses in the game. Glass Orb of Checking's Point, which I really like this one. This is like the checkpoints that you could get when you're going through the level. 2 relic points at 3rd level. You gain an Ichor-infused totem that grants 1 additional Ichor that can exceed your maximum. By spending 1 Ichor during rest, you may shatter the mysterious orb and gain an additional 1d6 hit points or 1d4 temporary hit points. The orb reforms during your next short or long rest. Guardian's Locket. As an action, you may hold this locket to stabilize 1 ally within 5 feet. You may also spend up to 3 Ichor points to heal the target for a d6 per Ichor spent. You must finish a long rest before you can use this again, so you can get a little healing. The Healing Hammer. Who says medicine can't be delivered violently? You gain a light hammer and you're proficient with it for the purposes of combat. You may spend 1 Ichor to make an attack against a target. A creature you strike with the hammer regains a number of hit points equal to a d10 plus your wisdom modifier, and simultaneously takes a d4 plus half your dexterity modifier in bludgeoning damage. Critical hits apply to both dice on a success. You must finish a short rest before using this feature again. Huzzah! Hilt of the Ethereal Blade. When making attacks with advantage or while hidden, you can spend 1 Ichor to add an additional 2d4 slashing damage to your rolls. At 15, this goes to 2d6. So that just is a hilt for your weapon. The Palchemy Jar. As a movement action, which isn't really a thing, but you can use the Palchemy Jar and dive inside it in an attempt to flee your current location. Choose 1 ally and 1 enemy within line of sight. Roll on the table below. 1 is reversal, 2 to 5 is ally, 6 is enemy. Based on your roll, you teleport to the chosen target. If you roll a reversal, roll again on the table if you roll a reversal, roll again on the table until you get a different result. The target must now succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be teleported within 5 feet of you on safe ground. This ability can't be used again until you complete a short or long rest. It's like a teleport. Percy's Tome of Admiration. You gain a single use of Charm Person once per long rest. Phase Locket. When you may use your reaction to reduce the damage of an incoming attack by a d6 once a long rest. Polar Pinchers. This is going to add a d4 cold damage to your Weapon of Devotion. Reaper's Mask at 7th level allows you to cast Fear once per long rest. Ring of the Shield Striker. This is required to be a Shield Knight. When throwing your shield, you may spend 1 Ichor to have your opponent make a dexterity saving throw. On a fail, your shield bounces off a nearby surface and strikes the target from behind, knocking them 10 feet closer towards you. Rail Mail, this is another Spectre Knight one. As a bonus action, you may mount your scythe, pick a single direction to travel in, your move speed increases by 10 feet while moving in this direction, and you must voluntarily move this way 10 feet or more per round. You may only travel in the chosen direction. On your turn, you may also succeed on a DC 15 acrobatics check to dismount. Make an attack against an opponent within range. On a successful hit, you dismount and deal an additional d6 slashing damage. And during your travel, terrain is not considered difficult. Colliding with obstacles or enemies ends your movement and prematurely, and you're knocked prone. At 15th level, the bonus damage goes up to a d10. Royal Decree for 1 relic point. You gain proficiency with Persuasion. It appears to have been granted by the Royal College of Magics, which is entirely fictitious. Spade Holster for the Code of Shovelry. Returned in spades may also deflect damage from magical attacks, so when you knock stuff back, it could be like a firebolt you could knock back. Scepter of the Deceptor for 1 relic point. While in possession of this relic, you gain proficiency in Deception. This once gold scepter was used by a man pretending to be a king. It's said that despite briefly managing to rule a kingdom, he was quickly overthrown. Rail Mail Relic. This is Scythe Master's Gloves. So you have to have the Rail Mail, which is a requirement for Code of Torment. So these are a requirement for Spectre Knight on top of already having the Rail Mail. Gloves made for expert scythe work. You now have full control while riding a scythe and may stop it early without making a saving throw. As part of your movement, you may spend 1 Ichor to make a leaping spin attack. The spin attack trick deals 1d10 plus your dex mod to enemies in 5-foot radius of your spinning landing. Upon completing this, you automatically dismount. Sentry's Skull at 9th level. Spend 3 Ichor points to at-will summon a skeleton to attack for you. It lasts for 4 hours. You may use this ability twice per long rest. Obviously, Spectre Knight could do that, but this is apparently usable by anybody. Shield Strap of the Marksman, again for a Shield Knight. Your Aegis Marksman ability hits 1 additional target. Stoic Boots of the Shield Sentinel, again for a Shield Knight. Your base movement speed drops by 10 feet. While holding a shield or buckler, these boots increase your AC by 3. Wow, that's a pretty powerful boost. Chevalier's Weighted Pommel, 9th level for a Shovel Knight. You can more accurately aim your shovel drops. You may include your dexterity modifier when rolling damage for all shovel drop attacks. Necromancer's Shackles for a 11th level Spectre Knight. A pair of pitch black shackles. They weigh nothing when worn and are silent to all but the wearer. When you strike the killing blow on an enemy, you may summon an allied skeleton. It lasts for 24 hours until it drops to 0 hit points. You may spend 1 Ichor to double the time limit, making it last for 48 hours. The Bomb Bag. This is one of the first ones we've seen for the Adventurer class, 9th level. A small bag of bombs that mysteriously refills each morning. As an attack action, you can throw a handful of them. Each creature in a 20-foot radius on a point within 120 feet must make a dexterity saving throw. They take 66 fire damage on a failed save or half on a success. You may use the Bomb Bag a number of times per day, equal to your Wisdom modifier. The Eye of True Sight, we see that you get this after eventually a high enough level. You gain proficiency in perception checks that rely on sight. I'm sorry, no, I was thinking of no, this one is the one you can get for being a Code of Adventure, rather. Perception checks that rely on sight, you have proficiency in those. You're also able to see through magical darkness as if it was daylight. As a bonus action, you may also reveal the hit points or one weakness of a target. You may use this bonus action ability a number of times per day, equal to your Wisdom modifier. The Grapple Anchor. Code of Adventure, 9th level, a metallic gauntlet with an anchor protruding from its end. As an action, you may target an opponent within 20 feet and attempt to grapple them. On success, you may draw the target towards you or keep them in place, imposing disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. The target may spend its action to attempt to break hold of the grapple. You may use the grapple anchor a number of times per day, equal to your Wisdom modifier. The Pen of Sword's Might, this is one relic point. Once per day, you may use this as a throwing weapon, making a ranged attack with it, adding proficiency, deal a d8 plus dex piercing damage, and impose disadvantage on their next attack roll. The Sword of Pen's Might. You gain proficiency in charisma persuasion checks involving writing while carrying this relic. The Terrible Rake of Torment. 12th level, 2 relic points. By spending 1 minute or spending 2 Ichor and a bonus action, you may place the rake down on an area within 35 feet. It immediately vanishes from sight. Any creature, including you, must make a DC perception check to spot the rake. A medium or smaller creature who passes through the rake's location must make a DC 12 dex save or lose their movement and take a d4 plus 2 bludgeoning damage as they're hit in the face with the rake, once per short rest. The Throwing Anchor, 2 Ichor points. As a reaction, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, a small chained anchor appears at the point of impact, and the target must succeed on a strength saving throw against your Ichor save DC or be restrained by the magical chains until the end of their next turn. A large or larger creature has advantage on the saving throw. If the target succeeds on the save, the chains shatter. A creature restrained by the chains or one that can touch the creature can use their action to make a strength check against your Ichor DC. On a success, they're freed. This can only affect one creature at a time. The Trench Stone, 7th level, you may take 10 minutes and spend 3 Ichor points to sharpen your weapon of devotion and imbue it with ancient Ichor. For the purposes of resistances and immunity, your weapon is now considered to be magical. The Triple Chalice, required by a Shovel Knight. It smells faintly of apples. This relic grants the user a single charge of create or destroy water once per day. The Usurper's Crown. This crown of badness allows you to make decrees to subjects across the land. When you speak, you are understood in any language, but do not necessarily understand all other languages. Warhorn is 1 relic point. Spend 2 Ichor points as an action. Each creature in a 15-foot cone in front of you must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, they take 2d8 thunder damage. On a success, they take half. Spending an additional Ichor point, you can increase this damage by an additional d8. Wrist Gauntlet of Far Throwing is for Shield Knights at level 11. When throwing a shield, the range increases by 40 feet total. By 40 feet on top of what it already is. Wristbands of Digging for a Shovel Knight. When attempting to dig through dirt in any direction, you add your proficiency bonus to the skill check. Tome of Tedium for 1 relic point. Proficiency in the history skill. I think that's it. Quick Bag of Questionable Convenience. 1 relic point at 4th level. You may spend 1 Ichor and 10 gold to create 1 common non-magical item under 2 pounds. You cannot use this ability to produce consumables or sentient beings. I wanted to see what the first thing was that you got. It was a Ring of Treasure Sight that you got. I didn't see the Ring of Treasure Sight, or did I just miss it? Ring of Treasure Site. No, I didn't see it. Maybe it's further on and I just missed it. Okay, so let's keep going. We have backgrounds here and multi-classing stuff. So there's the Order of No Quarter, which is kind of the bad guys in the Shovel Knight series. You get you Intimidation and Athletics proficiency, Thieves Tools proficiency. Your equipment is Thieves Tools, a stolen belt pouch containing 35 gold, and a wanted poster with your name on it. And your feature is Notorious Villain. In every town you find shelter, striking fear into the hearts of the common folk. You may also find respite amongst scum and villainy, should your goals align. Retired Adventurer, Insight and History skills proficiencies, Fishing Tool proficiency, and your equipment is Fishing Tackle, a set of Traveler's Clothes, a bedroll, tinderbox, small lockbox containing 10 gold pieces, a keepsake of a loved one, and 3 days worth of rations. You get Dreams of the Morrow. When you sleep, your dreams will be numerous. These dreams will fill you with strength needed to face the new day. You can find comfort even on the bare earth as long as warmth of a campfire brings you solace. And then Disgraced Traitor, Deception and Persuasion proficiencies, Disguise Kit, a set of Commoner's Clothes, a Disguise Kit, a bedroll, 25 GP, Painful Memento that reminds you of your past, and 5 days worth of rations. And you get Nightmares of Yesteryear. When you take a long rest, your dreams will dwell on those lost. While they may not offer premonitions of the future, they will prevent you from ever truly finding solace in slumber. And they have multi-classing things. So your prerequisite for multi-classing is ability score minimum, Dex 13, Wisdom 13. You have to have both. You'll get all proficiencies garnered by a chosen code when you multi-class, and then multi-classing with extra attack. If multi-classing, you cannot combine dash / shovel drop or Aegis marksman with extra attack, as these all take place of an action. And it is going to give you the Enchantress. I'm just trying to see is there magic items. Okay, they're further down. Okay, so we also get enemies, right? So the Fearsome Foes, the Enchantress herself. So she is a challenge rating 13 creature, immune to Charmed, Frightened, Prone, and vulnerable to fire. She does have her own spell casting here: Firebolt, Shocking Grasp. Nothing too crazy. Shield, Burning Hands, Gust of Wind, Vampiric Touch. Counterspell is a big one. Confusion, Wall of Fire. She imposes disadvantage on attempts to counterspell her. Man, you want to talk about pissing off the players. Advantage on saving throws against magic and magical effects. As a reaction, she can attempt to reflect a spell or ranged attack directed at her. She rolls an opposing spell attack. If she beats the initial spell attack roll, she reflects it, dealing a D8 +1 necrotic damage to the caster. And she makes 2 actions per round. Dance of Flame is 1. She tosses a small arsenal of 6 fireballs towards enemies. Creatures within 5 feet must make a DC 16 Dex save or take 3d6 fire damage. On success, they take half. Ground where it hits is also engulfed in flame and deals 2d4 damage if anyone passes through it. Dive Bomb recharges on a 4 to 6. She takes to the skies and flies up to 10 feet before choosing a cardinal direction. All creatures in that direction direction origination from her extending out to 60 feet must make a DC 16 Dex save or take 3d8 +2 fire damage and be knocked prone. On a success, they take half damage and are just pushed back 5 feet. She then returns to her original position and lands on the ground. Flight Fatigue. If the Enchantress is airborne, roll a d20. On a 10 or lower, she descends back to the ground as her focus on defeating the heroes distracts her flight capabilities. At the beginning of her next turn, she returns to hover. Inner Darkness recharges on a 6. Let's see. She chooses one target. They make a DC 14 Wisdom saving throw, or spend their next round as a flying aspect of darkness. They sprout dark wings of pure magic, and their movement speed becomes 30 feet. During their turn, they must attack the nearest ally with their weapon, dealing an extra d6 necrotic damage. At the end of their turn, they can repeat the saving throw to end it. And then one final dance. When she drops to 25 hit points, she attempts to unleash a Remnant of Fate. If she ends her turn having completed this action, the Remnant of Fate appears. We'll just have to see what that is. I can't remember from the game exactly. And one legendary action, which she can use for Magical Might, a random cantrip or spell of 2nd level or lower. Then we have the Chemical Couple. We have Mona and Plague Knight here. So we have Mona. She's challenge rating 5. She makes 1 attack per round with a d6 chance to perform a second attack. Poison Party is a 15-foot reach melee weapon that does 2d6 +2 poison damage. Explosion is a radius of 5 feet, 15-foot dexterity saving throw, or take a d6 +2 acid damage. And they have a shared ability, Bomb Voyage. When they're both present, they can use assorted potions, which recharges on a 5 or 6. Roll a d4 on the table below. Plague Knight uses one of the potions in his bag based on the result of what appears. Oil Bomb just does fire damage. Electric Elixir does some lightning damage. These are all different radiuses. Bouncing Boom is a range attack that hits one and then bounces, does thunder damage, and Draught of Death does poison damage and a save versus poison saving throw. And then Plague Knight here, challenge rating 7. When Mona drops to 0 hit points, he may attempt to flee if he fails. He may attempt to flee if he fails a wisdom saving throw. As a reaction, can avoid an attack once per turn by exploding a bomb. Creatures within 5 feet must make a saving throw or take some poison damage. And he has 1 attack as well as the Palcamy Party. Staff of Striking just does a d6 plus 2. Strange Hissing Sound. Plague Knight hides a bomb on the battlefield. Perception check, DC 15 to notice it. Beginning on his next turn, it explodes, dealing 2d6 plus 1 slashing damage to creatures within 5 feet. And Palcamy Party, Plague Knight disappears and reappears with 1d4 clones within line of sight. Looks exactly like him. The cultists have only 3 hit points and attack using a Staff of Striking. Magical Sight or passing a DC 15 insight check reveals the true Plague Knight. And here's our Remnant of Fate that would be fighting that the Enchantress would try to unleash. Challenge rating 16, resistant to cold, lightning, necrotic, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic. Immune to fire, immune to charm, fright, and paralyzed. 3 legendary resistance. Spellcasting all the way up to 6th level with a DC 17 and a +9 on the spell attack rolls. We've got things like Fireball, Scorching Ray, Evard's Black Tentacles, Dominate Person's Circle of Death. Imposes disadvantage on Counterspell. The Remnant of Fate is weak to piercing, slashing, or bludgeoning damage done directly to her head and suffers extra damage per hit to it. It has an AC of 18 when targeted directly. Blinding Power. Each creature within 10 feet of the Remnant of Fate must make a DC 16 Wisdom save or be frightened until the end of the creature's next turn. It has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. It has 1 action it can do. We'll do one of the 2. It casts a spell, summon an Orb of Arcane Power, or use a cantrip. An Orb of Arcane Power, it summons 3 of those, D4 plus 1, Orbs of Arcane Power, floating, vibrant orbs of pink archaic energy within 15 feet of its position. A creature may treat the orb as a target or attack for abilities. Each orb gets 1 action per turn and either moves 25 feet towards an opposed creature, or attack within 5 feet. It does a d6 plus 3 force damage with a +5 chance to hit. The orbs have an effective AC of 10 and 10 health and dissipate upon reaching 0 hit points. 2 legendary actions, Cantrip for 1, Abandoned Hope for 1, which is unleashes a wave of negative energy. Creatures within 60 feet, including ones behind barriers, can't regain hit points until the start of its next turn. Or 1 for Volley of Arcane Might. It unleashes a wave of 1d6 plus 3 small-sized floating orbs of pink arcane power that fly towards random locations on the ground. They have a +2 to hit and disperse upon reaching a target. They deal 1d4 plus 1 necrotic damage, and the floor near where they hit is considered difficult terrain that deal 1 necrotic damage to targets who pass over it. And lastly, the last bit here, we have our treasure trove, which is the last little bit here, including all of our different magic items. We see the different, here's what a scythe is. Here we go. Scythe does 2d4 slashing damage, is heavy and two-handed. A buckler, it does 0 damage, has a +1 AC and is a shield. And then Shovel Blade is a d8 slashing damage weapon that has finesse and the versatile property. So there's the mundane items right there. Shields of Aegon are the kind of legendary known items. This is Shield Knight's shields. They're legendary and require attunement. 2-handed shields, the larger one fits over your main hand, the smaller one's in your offhand. When wielded together, they confer a +3 bonus to your AC in lieu of a +1 bonus offered by most bucklers. Scythe of the Spectres, it deals a d10 necrotic slashing damage on a successful hit. When a creature is killed with this scythe, the wielder gains 1d4 plus 2 temporary hit points. This is the Scythe of Spectres. Shovel of the Blue Bouncer, legendary. These are pretty much all legendary and require attunement, but a relic of the Code of Shovelry. While wielding, your shovel drop deals an additional d6 force damage, and your movement speed cannot drop below 35 feet. You are also able to hold your breath indefinitely when submerged in water, but it's entirely unclear how this at all is related. Claws of Scorched Earth. These fiery dirt-infused claws seem to radiate with energy from the depths of the earth. Your unarmed strikes now deal a d8 slashing damage and a d8 fire damage. When digging with these clawed gloves, you may move through earth and natural stone at your base movement speed. These claws are treated as a two-handed weapon. These are basically Mole Knight's abilities there. Polar Plow is a shovel blade. Two-handed shovel blade deals a d10 bludgeoning damage as well as a d4 cold damage. As an action, you may scoop and swing your plow as an action to cast Snillock Snowball Swarm 3 times per day. While wielding the shovel blade, your AC increases by 1 and is large enough to cover your head. There's the Shove All Blade, which is another shovel blade, very rare. A shovel blade with a magical barrier infused with its springy hilt. You may spend your action to force any enemies within 10 feet of you to make a strength saving throw against your Icor DC or be pushed back 10 feet. Shovel drops made with this incredible spade are done with an additional d4 force damage. Only one more magic item left to go, and that is the Potion Satchel of the Alchemist. This is obviously themed after Plague Knight, but we have a wondrous, the only very rare item, I think, on this whole list, yeah. Oh no, other than the Shovel All Blade. This worn leather satchel contains an assortment of potions. Unfortunately, one of these potions is rigged to explode if any pesky adventurers is speaking through it. Roll a d10 on the following table when you look through the bag, drawing 1d4 potions at random based on your result. When a result is drawn, its result is instead replaced with the trap result until you finish your next long rest as the bag seems to refill its capacity. Interesting. Proficiency with these tools or succeeding on a DC 15 sleight of hand, sleight is spelt wrong. Proficiency check grants 1 reroll. So Trap, the bag explodes and deals a d8 fire damage to the wielder. This item is destroyed as a result. We have Potion of Greater Healing, Fire Breath, and Growth. Those are as they are in the DMG. Potion of Poison, throwable. Creatures in a 5-foot radius must succeed on a DC 15 con save or be poisoned for the next 10 minutes. They can attempt the saving throw at the end of their round using medicine. I guess that's making a medicine check. Rather than using a Constitution saving throw. Affected creatures take a d4 poison damage at the beginning of their turn each round. Okay. Potion of Resistance, Potion of Water Breathing, Elixir of Electricity, another throwable explosion potion. DC 15 dex save or take 2d6 plus 1 lightning damage and be stunned until the end of their next turn. Half on a success. I'm assuming it's half and not stunned, but it doesn't state that. Potion of Heroism is a 9, and Hill Giant Strength is a 10. And lastly, we have Joustus, an older game made by Wandering Adventures that focuses on collectible cards, and may have been used to pass the time or solve disagreements among groups traveling together. The game involves placing cards down and collecting as many gems on the board as you can. It's possible to find cards for the game, but it has been out of print for decades. So that is the entirety. This video is probably longer than I originally planned, and I could have broken it down into individual things, but I decided to keep it, as one catch-all document for Shovels and Shields version 1.1, the official Yacht Club Games Shovel Knight, I guess module, supplement, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's awesome. I love it. I'm 100% biased by how much I love Shovel Knight, but I can't wait to incorporate these into my game in some aspect. And if you like Shovel Knight, I highly recommend you go and check this out. It's free, and there's a link in the description for it. And let me know what you think. I've been playing around with lighting. I decided to take I have the Logitech Brio as the cam that I'm using currently. And I decided to take it onto full manual mode and get rid of low light compensation and adjust some things to try to really make myself stand out from the background. And I think I've done that. I think I need to get some RGB lights, because if I want to be a professional YouTuber / streamer, I need to have RGB lights somewhere over here. That just seems to be the standard. So I'm trying some things out. If you know cameras and you know lighting, and you have suggestions on how to adjust my setup and make things look a little bit nicer, please hit me up in the comments or find me on social media. I'm always looking to improve the stream. I've been doing my best to improve the audio at your request. I'm trying to improve the video as well. I really do take into consideration as much as I can from everything you all say to me, because you're out here consuming the content. I'm putting out videos daily. I want to do my best to increase that content, make it better, more digestible by all of you, within reason, right? As much as I can do. And if I can help make your day a little bit brighter by some goofy intro bit or some content that I'm covering or some reference to something pop culture that you enjoy, well, then, anything I can do to make that process better, I want to try to do. So yeah, again, let me know your thoughts. I don't know when this is going to come out in theory in series. So this may be like a really weird cut to this kind of video style with this lighting, and then you go back to the original one. But that'll give you a good comparison side to side. Also, look, no crazy white balance issues like I've had in some of the other videos where I wave my hand in front of my face and it like freaks the camera out. So anyway, let me know what you all think in the comments down below. Thank you again to my patrons on Patreon for continuing to support the channel. And yeah, I will see you all next time.